How many of you have asked yourself this question once or twice? Well, today we're going to try to find ways to answer that question for you anytime it pops up. You are going to be able to get a copy of this entire presentation, so you don't really need to take notes. You can play this at home on your own computer. I'm going to cover the mechanics of receiving photographs as attachments to your email using several email programs as examples. I'll start off with AOL for the simple reason that that's the one I use and therefore I know it the best. And I'll cover Outlook, Express, and Eudora. And if I think of something else along the way, I'll add to this. Then I'm going to talk about how to organize your files and within those files to organize your photographs. There are lots of ways to do it, and we'll cover them all. And finally, I'm going to at least point out that there are lots of different systems that you can use, probably a couple of which are already on your computer, and some of which you can download free if they aren't, to edit your photographs. So let's talk about the typical way that someone who used America Online would receive a photograph. And there are a lot of things in this typical way that are probably quite similar to a lot of other programs with which you receive email. Let's go to my America Online mailbox, and you will see that I have put a magnifier up at the top here so that when I put my cursor somewhere else on this screen, the part that I'm looking at with the cursor shows up larger up top. Perhaps that will help you see some of the details of this. I have here two emails, this one called Demo and this one called Demo 2, which I have sent myself with the same photograph in them. In the first email, the photograph is actually embedded in the text of the email. I'll show you that in a minute, how it looks. But there's a separate symbol for that. The icon shows this little colored box in the upper right-hand corner of the envelope on the outside, on top of the envelope. That's the symbol in America Online for an email that has a photograph, or an image at least, in the text. This one here shows a something behind it. It looks like a floppy disk. And that is to indicate that this particular email has an attachment, a file that is attached to the email text. In this case, it's a photograph. So let's look at these two emails. I'll look at the first one by double-clicking it. And you will see that the email opens and it has in the text the photograph of my granddaughter. Actually, that's my great-granddaughter. Now let's go back to the email mailbox list and double-click on the second email, the one that has an attachment. And here, once you see that the email has no text in it, but it has an attachment indicated down at the bottom. It says what the name of the attachment is. The suffix tells you what kind of an attachment it is. It's a JPEG photograph file. And it tells you how big it is. That attachment is not yet in my computer. It's in America Online's server, somewhere in cyberspace, or maybe somewhere in Milwaukee. I don't know. If I want to put that photograph in my computer, I have to download it. right here. So let's do that. I click on download. I click on download now, and it asks me where I want to put it. Well, I almost always put files that come as attachments to an email into a folder which is in my documents, which is in documents often used, which is in America Online Downloads. And I've noted that that's big. And I've separated the files in there by year. I'm going to put that in 2007 Downloads. And it already has a name, which is fine with me. It's a JPEG file. And that's when I click Save, it will start downloading. Now coming from that server in Milwaukee or wherever to my computer. And there is the photograph. And since it is a JPEG file, which AOL recognizes as harmless, AOL opens immediately as it is downloaded. Other files AOL does not open immediately. It gives your virus program a few minutes to, or some time to look at that file and see if they deem it harmful. So that's the way to download a file which is attached to an email in America Online, and to look at a picture which is in the body of an email. Now we are going to begin to talk about how to organize your photos. Remember, there were 2 copies of the same photo received through my email program. One was embedded in the text of the email, and the other was an attachment to an email. I'm going to cover the second one, the attachment, first. To do this, we need to go to My Computer or Windows Explorer, not Internet Explorer, but Windows Explorer. To get there are 2 ways. One, go to Start, up to Programs, up to Accessories, and look in Accessories for this icon with a magnifying glass over a folder. That is Windows Explorer. And there is Windows Explorer, with which you can look at any file in your computer. The other way to get essentially to the same place, and I'll close this out now, is to go to your desktop, where most probably in the upper left-hand corner is My Computer. If you double-click on My Computer, you will get essentially the same thing. It starts out with things on the right-hand side showing your computer, and a bunch of things to do on the left-hand side. I prefer to click this Folders box, and then you end up with pretty much the same thing as you have in Windows Explorer. Now we're going to go back to that original question. Just where did I put that picture of my granddaughter? Well, in order to answer that question, you have to get organized. You have to organize your computer with folders so that you can put your pictures, all of them, the ones that come by email, the ones you take yourself and download from your camera, the ones that somebody gives you on a CD, so you can organize them so you can find them again. There are lots of ways to do that. You can organize them by year. You can organize them by subject, like family, and then within family by different names. You can organize them by the location at which they were taken. You can organize your computer with a little bit of each of these. That's the way mine is. Or you can sit down and decide how would you like to organize your pictures and do it your way. We'll now go to My Computer or Windows Explorer and do just that. First, you have to remember where you put that picture that you just downloaded. We're still in the process of deciding what to do with that picture that came by email. Yeah, I remember, because I always do it this way, that the things I download, whether they're files or anything else, as attachments to email messages, go in Documents Often Used, and then they go in AOL Downloads, and within that they go in the year in which I downloaded them. So if I click here, I should see over on the right hand side the picture that I just downloaded. Well, the problem is I don't remember the name of it. I could go back and look at that email that came in, and down at the bottom it does have the name. But an easier way is just to go up to the top and click the date, because when you download something, the date on which you downloaded it, which was Monday, the 12th of November at 12:41 p.m., gets attached to that JPEG image, and there it is. That's the email, or excuse me, that's the picture that I just downloaded. And if I double click it, it will open in whatever program I have set to open JPEG files. And we'll see that it is in fact the right picture. There we are. So there it is. What are we going to do with it? Well, I'll show you what I would do with it, but then we'll do it, actually do it. We'll get organized on this computer as if we were doing it for the first time. If I were putting it somewhere, I would go back to My Documents here, and I would look down below My Documents, and I would see that there's a thing called My Pictures. And within a thing called My Pictures is a folder called Photos and Graphics. And within there's one for graphics and there's one for photos. And the one for photos has a folder in it called Family. And within the one called Family, there's one called Alexandra, who is that young lady in the skunk costume. And if I click there and look at all within Alexandra, I kept the photos by year because they grow pretty fast. And I also have some that are just not filed by year. And sure enough, there we are. There is the picture that I actually had, that I started with to build this demo. So that's the way my mind worked when I set this up. But let's say you're going to do this from scratch. You don't have any of this place to put your photos. What would you do? So let's go back to My Computer or Windows Explorer. And I suggest that you start with a pretty clean slate. With anything that has a minus on it, you click on it so everything's plus. Then you go to My Documents, and I suggest that you put your pictures all in My Pictures. But just because My Pictures already has my idea of how My Pictures ought to be organized in it, I'm going to put a new folder under My Documents called Senior Computer Group Demo. I'll do that by clicking File, then New, Folder. and I'm going to type in SCG demo, type enter, and then when I highlight SCG demo, I'm going to click new folder and put in my pictures. Type enter. Now, when you get to my pictures, the one you're going to use, you need to put folders in there that you think are going to house the photographs you receive the way you think about keeping them. Here's one way. You select My Pictures, you click File, New, Folder, and you type in Family. Type enter. You select My Pictures again, you go File, New, Folder, you type 2007 and enter. You go back to My Pictures, File, New, Taken at Home, enter. You go back to My Pictures, File, New, Folder, you type received by email, enter. Now, when you click the plus next to My Pictures, you have some places where you could file those pictures that you have received, either on CDs. Maybe you'll make another folder called Received on CDs. Maybe you'll take the pictures that are received on CDs and put them into these categories, or some other categories that you invent. Organize this the way you think. So, when you have it organized, then you go back to the place where that picture of your granddaughter came in, which in my case is in Documents Often Used, AOL Downloads, 2007 Downloads, and we found it, as you remember, by selecting the date. Then we select the picture, we right-click on it, and choose Copy. Now we can go down to let's do it this way. Let's close up the minuses. Go to Senior Computer Group Demo, My Pictures, and decide where we want this photograph. Well, maybe we decide we want it here, in which case we right-click on the place we want it and click Paste. And maybe we also decide, since it's family, that we right-click on that, or we left-click on that, and we go up here and put File, New, Folder, and we have a new folder in Family with the name of the granddaughter. We left-click on the name where we want it, then we right-click on that name and we click Paste again, and that picture goes in there as well. Then maybe we go here, we right-click here, we click on Paste again, and we now have that picture of the granddaughter here and here and here. there, there, and there. Now remember, there were two ways that grandchild's photo came in to AOL. One of them was in an attached file, and we have dealt with that. The other was in the text of the email message. So let's go look and see how we would deal with that. If you go back to the mailbox and double click on the message that came in with the little indicator that there's an image in the message, there it is. Well, how do I save that or put it in a folder or whatever? Simply right click on it. You get a lot of options. The easiest is to save the picture as. You click on that, and it will bring you to a place where AOL thinks that you should save your pictures. That's in My Documents, My Pictures, and then Pictures Downloaded from AOL. There is a folder already in there, and Save from Mail, and that's where it is. I don't choose to put it there. I choose to put it in My Pictures. And I'm going to put it in Your Pictures, the ones we set up for the Senior Computer Group demo. So in that place there is well, I thought there was, but I guess not. There is, oh, sorry, not in My Pictures, but in My Documents. There is an SCG demo, and within that there is one in My Pictures, and within that there is the familiar received by email, taken at home, etc. Let's say we decide to put this one, in fact, in taken at home. You double click that, which puts taken at home up at the top. Then you give it a name, and I will choose that we'll say call it Alex. Alex as a skunk. JPEG. Now, if we go back to those that place where we can look at all the photos, here's one called Alex as a skunk, and if we look at it as a thumbnail, it's the same picture. And if we double click it, it will open in the program that I have set up to open JPEG files, which in my case is an Adobe Photoshop album starter edition, which came free with this particular computer. I like it. Now let's talk about how we would deal with some photographs that were sent to us in a different system. Outlook Express is one that I think a lot of you use, or Outlook, and I think they're pretty similar. I have Outlook Express on this computer, and I'll open it. And Cox Communications has sent me some happy 4th of July messages. But the one that I want to look at is one that Fred Wasserman sent me a while back. And that has a picture of Oliver Wasserman and 2 of Oliver's foster kittens. So let's say that I receive this email with this either as an attachment or in the body of the message, and I'll show you both ways in Outlook Express to deal with that. If it's an attachment, if there is an attachment, it will have a little paperclip here showing that there is an attachment to that email. And if you double click on the paperclip, it will give you a box that will show you the name and type of the attachment. And then if you go to File and click Save Attachments, it will give you the name of the attachment to be saved, and you can select down here where you want to save it to. You go to Browse, and it shows you all the folders in your computer. So I will go to My Documents, and I will open up SCG Demo. And with an SCG Demo, I will open up my pictures, and I will click Received by Email, and I'll click OK, which puts me back again and says that the attachment to be saved is Buddies, and it's going to be saved in My Documents, etc., etc., etc. I click Save, and if I go to that place, Received by Email again, I now see that Buddies is saved there. If I didn't find that, or I were confused, I could simply right-click on the picture in the text of the message and click Save Picture As, and it will once again let me go to My Documents, SCG Demo, My Pictures. We're going to put it in Taken at Home just for fun now, and call it Buddies, and click Save Picture. And there we go. And now if we go and look at Taken at Home, we'll find that Buddies is there too. Let's talk about how we would do the same thing in Eudora. I will open Eudora, and you'll find that I have the same message from Fred in Eudora. If I double click on it, it shows me the text of the message, and it shows me that there is an attachment named Buddies1. If I double click with my left mouse button on that attachment name, it opens the picture, the attachment, in the program that I've selected in my computer to open JPEG files, because it's a JPEG file. If I right-click on the attachment name, it gives me an option of saving the attachment as, and then once again I can decide where to save it. The place that it picks is a folder called Attach, which is in a folder called Eudora, which is in a folder called Qualcomm, which is in my application data in my computer. I don't choose to put it there. I would choose to put it in the Senior Computer Group Demo folder under My Pictures that we've set up to get organized for saving pictures. And I could put it in any one of these. It's already there from the other program. But that's how I would do it. And I would save it with a Buddies1 folder. We can, well, we can just do that. It has a different name, so it'll be quite happy with saving that picture in the received by email. And there it is, Buddies1. Same picture, different name. If I go back to Eudora and I don't notice or don't remember what to do about the name there, I can right-click on the picture, and one of the options is Save the attachment as. And once again, it lets me decide whether to put it where it decided to, which is the same place as if you click if you right-click the name, or once again, put it where I want it in my system that I organized. I said that if I thought of another email program that a lot of you might use, I'd add it on, and I did. Let's go to Yahoo. Yahoo is an internet-based program. I have a Yahoo toolbar on my Internet Explorer, so I can go to Yahoo Mail just by clicking here. It recognizes me, and if I go to the inbox, I'll see all the garbage that I get through Yahoo, but I will also see one message which I sent myself so that you can see how this works. And if I click on that message, I see that it has an attachment. The name of the message is Test, and the attachments are a photo. Once again, I can save that photo somewhere by right-clicking on it here, and saying Save Picture As, and then going to My Documents, Senior Computer Group Demo, the pictures that we have set up in Senior Computer Group Demo, and Received by Email, and I can call it Hale Kipa, which means House of Hospitality in Hawaiian. And if we now go to Received by Email, whoops, time out. I found it when I was selecting the place to put it. I didn't double click on Received by Email. I actually had at the top of the folder my pictures, and that's where Hale Kipa ended up. But that gives me a good way to show you how to fix mistakes you make when you're doing this. I don't want this in my pictures. I want it in Received by Email. If I right-click on this thumbnail and holding down the right-click, drag it to the place I want it, which is Received by Email, and then let go, I can either copy it there or move it there. I choose to move it there. And now, if I click Receive by Email, there it is, where I wanted it. Going back to Yahoo Mail, you'll see that there are other ways to save it to the computer, the attachment that is. If I click Scan and Save to Computer, I get an option to download attachment. It scans it first, makes sure there's no virus threat detected, which is good, and then I can download the attachment. And it asks me if I want to open it or save it. I want to save it. And once again, it will ask me where I want to save it. I decide to put it in My Pictures and this time I'm going to put it in Taken at Home, but I'm going to double click that so it ends up there in Taken at Home, and it'll have this name. Well, we'll give it the Holly Keepin name again. It's been downloaded. And there it is. So I have told you how you might organize the photos that you get by mail that you want to keep. Of course, a lot of the things that I get by mail, by email, I don't necessarily want to keep. So I just leave them in that downloaded from email folder for a year, and then every year or so I delete a year's worth of stuff that I have not or copied to somewhere else, like My Pictures Family or 2007. So we've talked about the systems that you can download email with and how to deal with your attachments in there, and we've talked about organizing them. Now I just want to touch briefly on each one on the systems that you might use to edit your photos. I don't know how many times I've received a photo from someone that they sent me as an attachment, and when I open it, all I can see is maybe this hand right there, and that's all it shows on the whole screen, because the picture is so big, 2 or 3 megabytes, that it won't fit. So you should think about that before you take any of these pictures that you received of your granddaughter and share them with Uncle Louie or anybody else. You should resize them. You also might want to do some other things with them that are quite easy in some of these programs. I'm going to cover Picasa, Photoshop Elements, which costs about $100. Microsoft Office Picture Manager, which comes with Microsoft Office 2003. And HP PhotoSmart, which I have because I have an HP printer, and it came on the CD with the printer. But you can get an Elements edition of this free as a download just by putting HP PhotoSmart in Google. So let's start with Picasa. Picasa is a free program from Google that helps you find, edit, and share your photos. When you first start Picasa, it will scan your entire computer and pick up every photo on it, 6,492 in my case. It sorts them by date. The only disadvantage with that is that the primary date that it uses is the embedded date in a photo, and if your camera, like mine, reverts to January 1st, 1999 every time you change the batteries, unless you go back and reset the date, which I often forget to do. You will end up with some very missorted photos. But there are other ways to find them. Let's talk about how we would change one photo amongst the ones that we sorted recently if we wanted to. Here, this photo, if you look at its properties by right-clicking on it and then clicking Properties, it says that it's 800 by 600 pixels and is the size of 171 kilobytes. Well, if you were sending a lot of emails to a friend, you'd probably want to make that a little smaller. So the question is, how could you resize this photo in Picasa? First, I would make a copy of the photo I was going to change and work on that copy. I'd select it, put a border around it, go to File, and click Save a Copy, which puts one more here. Then I'd select that one, which puts this picture in the photo tray, and I'd go to Export, and it would show me what size the exported copy was going to be. I can change that. I can also change the size that it starts out by going ahead of time to Tools and Options and picking this number of pixels that I'm going to reduce things to. However, in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead with the 480 pixels, and we'll see what that does to the... Here we are. Here's the new picture. It's now 95 kilobytes. That's just one of the things you can do with Picasa. Adobe Photoshop Elements is a pretty powerful program for $100. It'll do an awful lot of the things that the very expensive Adobe Photoshop program will do. If I wanted to resize one of the photos that we've just worked on, I'd go to File, Browse, and then I would find under My Documents the Senior Computer Group Demo folder that's in my computer. I'd open up the folder My Pictures and I'd pick one of these. Let's do Taken at Home. And it shows me the 4 photographs we have. Alex, Buddies, Buddies 1, and Halakipa. Let's say that I want to resize Buddies. I would double-click Buddies, which brings it up in a separate window. It would show me what the details of the photo are, width, height, color mode, resolution, etc. And if I go to the How To palette and look under the recipes, I'll get directions for resizing that photo. All I have to do is click here, resize a large photo for, this says for printing, but it works for anything else. And it says exactly what to do. You choose image, resize, image size, etc., etc. So that is a very powerful program for about $100. It'll do just about anything you want to do. I really like Microsoft Office Picture Manager for this kind of work. If you have Microsoft Office 2003 and you go past all the programs that you normally use and look at the tools, you'll see Microsoft Office Picture Manager. Picture Manager does something very similar to Picasa in picking up all the pictures you have on your computer and sorting them. But when you go down to the picture you want to work on, which once again is down in our Senior Computer Group demo, here we are. Let's say received by email. And you pick one of these and double click on it. When you go to picture and look at that drop down menu, it lists all the things that you might want to change: cropping, rotating, flipping, and resizing. When you resize, you can do a predetermined width and height, you can do a custom width and height, you can just take the original and do a percentage, and it'll show you as you drop down in percentage what the new size is going to be in pixels. I like that program. Finally, here is HP PhotoSmart Premier, which came with my HP printer. But as I said, you can download one by just going to HP PhotoSmart in Google, and you'll find a free download of an Elements type of package of HP PhotoSmart. In this version, you can browse by the folders in your computer. So we would go to SCG Demo, we'd go to My Pictures, we'd pick maybe Received by Email, we would select a picture, double click it, and then we would click the tab Edit, modify the images that are in my selections tray. And you can rotate it, you can flip it, you can crop it, etc., etc. You can resize it, which is what we were talking about as a generic concept, to an email size, a current size, a web blog size, or a custom size. That's pretty handy. So I hope that you can now answer this question a little bit better. Or if perhaps you can't now, you might be able to if you came up and got a copy of this presentation, took it home and played it on your own computer a few times. I hope your grandchild is as cute as my great-grandchild.